Hello everybody and welcome to this playthrough for Pro and Expert Division with various wins. Before we have a closer look at all the content here in this video, make sure that you do hit the thumbs up button, also subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications. Doing those three things doesn't cost you a dime and it helps the channel immensely. For those of you that do want to invest more in your game and become a better player quicker, then you can scan the QR code here on the screen or use the link that is in the description down below, patreon.com/golfclashtommy. And for those that are looking for more free content as well, our website golfclashtommy.com is the place where you can find loads and loads on loads of free content to learn from. Follow the info box on the right hand side to get to the club distance adjustment, elevation adjustment, also a ball and club type I suggest you to play with. Have in mind that those are all suggestions and you don't have to follow it if you don't want to, but there's always a plan behind it. So let's go to hole number one. For Sakura Hills hole number 5, here we're going to play us as safely down the fairway possible. Sure, the tailwind is very interesting in the fact that you could technically push this one with a topspin boost ball, trying to get over to the final fairway, but I think personally when you will then have a straight crosswind with your short iron or with your wedge, it's not really gonna be much easier doing that type of play. It's more gonna be risky in terms of getting into the rough or sand on your drive. So I'm choosing to play with an accurate driver such as the rock, putting myself up here now for a sniper towards the pin. Topspin will vary depending on what wind angle I have, but what I'm looking for is not to go too far, because if I'm going too far I will end up being in between clubs on the approach, and that will definitely be an issue for consistency in terms of going for the eagle. Now I'm gonna do a rough bump, and this rough bump may look very scary, but it's not as scary as it looks. There is a lot of room on this rough, especially when we are playing with such a weird elevation. It's not often we're playing with a negative elevation such as -20 on an approach shot, but that's because we are adjusting down into the sand and already playing uphill from where we are with our ball compared to where the ball will bounce. We'll just add on to that. So it's going to be a very little amount of rings to pull. We're not even pulling 4 rings here with our sniper, adding a little bit of overpower to compensate, as once again we're pulling so far down into that sand. Bounces nicely onto the fairway. We roll up and getting it dead center for an eagle here from distance. -20% elevation, true club distance, and no, you don't have to play with a wind 4 ball. You can play with a wind 3 ball as well, such as Kingmaker or any other ball that do have similar stats. Hole number 1, Gokasho Bay here in Expert. We're going to start by using 3 bars of topspin, and then we're going to look to have the ball guideline to go just into the hole. And we're starting this way to easier find our landing spot. Then we're going to do a spin swap. We're going to change to 2.1 topspin and 0.8 left spin. Here you can either choose a Kingmaker ball, or you can play with, or let's say like this, you can play with any ball that do have wind 3 or wind 4. Adjustment is going to be max +20 power 3. And you can see this angle, this is going to be the angle that's going to be called the call for no tweaks whatsoever. And then we're obviously going to tweak based on having any different angle here. Centered ball, hit perfect. It is actually a little hard to center the ball here when it's so dark, and it bounces on the fairway and it rolls, and we're getting it dead center for a lovely hole in one to start with here on Gokasho Bay. Hole number 6, Gokasho Bay from the second tee. We are using 2 left spin and half a bar of top spin. We're playing from NMT with a power 3 ball. And here I'm using an extra mile. You can use an Apocalypse, you can use a Thor's Hammer if you would like, or any other type of combination. This is such a straightforward drive that it's not really going to require a bunch of different stats to be able to get this ball down the fairway safely. If you do want to go for a power, let me see, power hook is gonna be, and then you will have to have a good amount of tailwind off tee, and it's often going to require a driver such as the Apocalypse because you do need a lot of curl. Max plus 10 on the drive. Second shot we play with our sniper is all about trying to find a good spot and build that together with, or use that together with a solid reference such as the fringe check as we're doing here in the video. I'm trying to use the white rings here to be by the fringe and by the bunker, this to allow for a consistent landing spot, but again you can play this type of shot in many different ways. 10% elevation, and you will notice based off the result that I'm missing to the left here of the pin. So with some minor modifications here to the adjustment, we can see ourselves hunting the albatross in a much better way. No matter what though, this is an attempt that will always end up for an eagle as per minimum, because there are no obstacles that we're playing over or like playing over or playing before or just playing through or something like that. So it's a very safe eagle in that way. Hole number 4, we are attacking the pin by bouncing over the rough and the sand. There are some rough bump possibilities, but those rough bumps are extremely dependable on your skills on being very accurate. Otherwise you risk missing the rough and then you will bounce into the sand or in the rough behind the pin. So we're using the red ring as a reference, using the backspin and the side spin as well to have the ball guideline pointing towards the hole. Adjust 10% elevation, but I would like to say in this case that when we do have a par 3 like this, the adjustment may differ slightly depending on what type of wind direction you have, because you might design it with different spins or might end up playing a little bit higher up, a little bit further down. So don't steer yourself blind with that the true elevation is 10%. I would say that this is definitely a par 3 with a good chance for a drop. Take your game to the next level with our ultimate tournament text guides for the Hanami Heat 9-hole cup here in Golf Clash, the game expert and master division, free to play paintball plays for those that do want to have an advantage over your opponents in this upcoming 9-hole cup. It's steady wins as well, so the qualifying round wins will be the same as for the final round wins. So sign up by scanning the QR code here on the screen, or go directly to patreon.com/golfclashtommy via the link that is in the description down below. Hole number 1, we're going to play Gokasha Bay hole number 1, playing with the rock, and we're playing with our katana. 3 left spin, 3 top spin, and we're playing an NMT, which means that we're not touching our target until it's time to adjust the rings. Max plus 10 is the adjustment, and the goal here now is just have a simple and safe drive to get ourselves up to a spot where we can play a sniper to the pin. Outside wall left curl to add in the end as well, to push the ball back left and to be able then to keep the NMT as our starting position. On the second shot we do have our sniper, and now I like a lot to play the rough bump. The rough bump, however, is kind of finicky, and the reason it is finicky is due to that we can find a similar ball guideline position with different spots into the rough. So here it is important that you do know what type of spin to use, and then go with that as somewhat a fixed spin situation, and then you will be needed to respin after you have set the spins from the start if the ball guideline is not showing the way you want to. Here I'm using the blue ring by rough and fairway, ball guideline slightly short due to the fact that we do have tailwind. Adjustment here now is going to be minus 10% elevation with true club distance. So if you do not know what club distance to use, then check where max club are, or the min club are, not or, but and where the min club are, and make an educated guess. Perfect ball it is, bounces into the rough, and we are rolling down the green and getting ourselves a lovely eagle to start with here in hole number 1. On hole number 6 of the Sakura Hills played from the second tee, we are setting 5.8 topspin and 2 right spin. As you will notice here in the video, I am deliberately backing up, making sure that even lower level clubs can follow the advice here. 5.8 topspin is also what the lower level epochs do have, so there are no difference compared to that and my Apocalypse level 8. Adjust max plus a 10, and then I'm going max overpower with my Kingmaker. The reason I go max overpower is to give ourselves a chance to drop from distance. If we would be playing just center ball, then we would be having a problem as we wouldn't reach to the spot we want to. That's obviously the problematic thing in headwind, whereof in crosswind and tailwind is going to be much easier, as we obviously don't have the headwind to push the ball back. Because the thing that we want to do, we do want to go for a rough bump, and here I'm boxing in the yellow ring where the sand meets the yellow ring and the rough line meets the yellow ring as well. Ball guideline to go 3 green squares past and going outside the right side of the cup. Adjust 10% elevation through club distance, so whatever club distance you have in terms of look where your min line are and also where your max line are to make your decision. Obviously that will change if you do have like a check to follow, like a pin check, fringe check, or you maybe play based on drive distance. So it depends on how much you dial it in as a player. Ball hits the rough, rolls down and dropping dead center for the albatross. You may be wondering, why do I go with a rough bump? Why don't I just bounce over towards the pin? The rough bump, when it comes to the long distance shots like this, is by far the best chance to get drops on long distance with club shots like this. Up to you, obviously. If you want to play it, you can use the guardian and go directly to green, or you can use the fairway before the water and bounce yourself over towards the pin. Both of those options will not really get you any chance for the alba, but at least it will give you a safe eagle, and you don't have to bother with the rough bump if you feel it's too aggressive. For hole number 5, this is Kokasho Bay, hole number 8, and here we are going to use the fairway path on the right, and especially when having tailwind and also direct crosswind, this is going to be a fairly easy drive, whereof when you do have a headwind, I would strongly advise you to use a ball with more power than power 3. This to allow you to not have to go with a lot of overpower, because that could be a little mess if you hit a bad grade to the left or to the right where the rough then may be in play, and then this hole becomes not it's never a simple drop, but it doesn't become a good chance for a drop, then becomes in the end a way to just trying to save the birdie. Max plus 10, I'm using all the top spin that I can here with my extra mile and 2 bars of a right spin. If you do have an Apocalypse, you can push with more curl and therefore also use more top spin, because the more curl you have, the more the ball will be pushed right, but also the more top spin you have, the more the ball will be pushed and back left. So it's something that you need to have in mind, so you're not using too much topspin and roll into the far distance rough. From there though, there will never be any issues to save the birdie, but it would suck, as we do want to have a possibility to attack for an eagle without obviously being into the rough. Now, second shot, we're playing here from the fringe, and we're using our thorn. You can obviously use a different short iron if you would like, but the thorn is a universal club, I would like to say, and that the most of the players do have in a decent level. Ball guideline into the hole, and then trying to judge obviously the club distance. So if you don't know what to play from the specific yardage point and stuff, then make sure to check where max club is and where the min club is, and make an educated guess from there. No elevation though, as this is definitely not being played downhill. Perfect ball it is, and you can see that we're bouncing on the fairway up towards the pin, just barely missing on the left hand side, because we are not judging the club distance in a correct way. No matter what though, this will be a very solid chance for an eagle. On hole number 2 of the Sakura Hills played from the second tee, we are using a katana here because we do want to play from the min line to give ourselves also room to roll towards the pin. Playing with a P3 ball, you can do that, but then you're gonna have to use a little bit too much backspin for my taste. So what I'm doing is that I'm using, as you can see here, I'm using 2 right spin and I'm using 3 backspin. Simple spins. Ball guideline to go 1.5 green square right of the pin. Adjust is gonna be mid plus a 20. And then the intention is to get the ball out to the left to then fall back in line to get the ball in the hole. This is a par 3 that looks so much easier than what it is, and the reason it's not as easy as it looks is because of the downhill elevation. And when it comes to being so much downhill, it's also going to affect the second bounce and the third bounce it gets. So it's a lot of things that needs to go your way to be consistent on a par 3 like this. But you know, when it is like an open fairway and a very big green, at least the birdie will never be a problem. Hole number 3 of the Gokashu Bay is an old classic. I remember it from way back in the day when I was starting to play Golf Clash. This was one of the few holes that we had back then to play, especially on Tour 10. When we are playing here, we are bouncing on the right hand side over the rough, trying to get as far down the fairway possible. Adjustment is max plus 10, and the spins will vary depending on what type of wind direction you have. In headwind, it is recommended to use as much as you can, as the compressed ball guideline will be making it difficult to get the distance enough when making your drive. However, though, if you do have a tailwind, you need to reduce the topspin, otherwise there is a risk of you getting a glitch roll to roll into the rough there at the top. Now, nicely done here, and we are around 360 yards. Second shot is either gonna be a long iron or it's going to be a wood club. Preferred to always have 135 yard wood club packed, which is the Goliath or the B52. The Grizzly is a gamble because it doesn't have the full power, and if you are in that zone where you are somewhat in between yardage that you do want to have, there is a risk that you might just be stuck in between clubs on the approach as well, and that's not something we want to do. Therefore, the Goliath is miles better to use than a Grizzly level 7 or level 8 in my opinion, whereof obviously a high level B52 is the most preferred long iron here on the approach. 10% elevation, true club distance. Now we're closer to max club and then we are to mid club, so here we're playing close to max distance and barely lipping out on the right hand side. Good chance for an albatross on hole 3. Thank you so much everybody for watching this playthrough for Pro and Expert division here with various wins. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Also make sure to hit the thumbs up button before you leave. Scan the QR code here on the screen or use the link patreon.com/golfclashtommy that is in the description down below. That will take you to our premium guides where you can subscribe and start improving your game today. Thank you once again for watching. I wish you the best of luck in your Golf Clash game.